good, shaping the fate. Investors and dreamers open the gate. Supercross stands loud, proud and true, building tomorrow for me and you.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited today to introduce you to Claudia Scott. She's with Kiva in Arkansas. We're so excited to be able to tell you more about the Kiva program for entrepreneurs right here in the United States. It's so exciting. Claudia, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Devin. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and just kind of tell you guys a little bit about what we're doing.
Yeah, we love it, and I'm thrilled to have you here. So, Claudia, take a minute and tell us how you got connected with Kiva.
Yeah, I'd love to. So it is kind of a long story, but I'll try to summarize it. So I'm actually originally from San Jose, Costa Rica, and I moved to Arkansas about 10 years ago, 10 or 11 years ago. For undergrad, I did my, university, my master's. I had a couple of jobs, and about 2 years ago, I was looking for, my next move, my next step, and I've heard of Startup Junkie before. It's very known in the region, and part of the programs they have under their like umbrella of programs and workshops that they do was the Kiva Northwest Arkansas program. They were looking for a director at the time, so I hopped on, and honestly, it's one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done in my entire life.
Well, Kiva is just an extraordinary organization, and it's so cool to see what you're doing. So let's dig into that a little bit. I think a lot of us think of Kiva as an international microloan program supporting especially women in the developing world. So we're picturing women in Africa and India and places like that.
Yeah.
Tell us about the program and how it manifests itself in Northwest Arkansas.
I know. And that's usually the reaction we get from people. So actually, I think about maybe 2011, Kiva International started doing a lot more work stateside. And in 2019, there have been a couple of years where they had done hubs all over the United States. In early 2019, we are very lucky to have the Walton Family Foundation here in Northwest Arkansas because that's what Walmart was first started, and they were interested in having a Kiva hub here in Northwest Arkansas. And usually, there's a chamber of commerce or a city or an economic development company that kind of just manages the hub for Northwest Arkansas. That was Startup Junkie. uh, so we had the hub open for about 4 years. And yes, it's very, very interesting to see Kiva is still very focused on historically underserved minorities. And in Northwest Arkansas, we've done over 130 loans. 100 have gone to women-owned businesses, but we've seen such an uptick in Black-owned businesses, API-owned businesses. So really, it can be just anyone. And we tell you, we don't know the barriers that you've had in your life. So even if you seem as a, I don't know, white cisgender male, there may be some historically underserved category that you can fall onto. And we want to be here and give that microloan to everyone in that area.
So you've got this cool stuff that you're doing. A lot of this is, the loan funding is essentially crowdfunded.
Mhm.
Are the entrepreneurs playing a role in raising the capital for their own deals, or does Kiva shoulder that responsibility entirely?
Yeah, it's kind of different for us here in Northwest Arkansas. So yes, the process is divided into two. So it's called the private phase and the public phase. So the private phase is usually sole responsibility of the client. During the approval, Kiva US, our headquarters, will give our business owner a number. So it can be anywhere between 5 or up to 45 people. And that's the number of people they need to get to contribute to the loan. The pledges are small, so $25 is what counts as a pledge. And that's because we don't do any collateral. We believe in character over credit, but we still want to make sure that the business is, appreciating the community, respecting the community. So that's where that like private phase or community collateral comes through. We are also aware that especially in Northwest Arkansas, we have a big population of refugees and immigrants. So we try to work with our clients. They may not know 20 people that they can ask for $25. The people that they know may be in Guatemala or Honduras. So we try to figure out ways to lower those barriers and also help them get that private requirement. After that, they go public. So Kiva, just in general, the platform has over, I think it's close to 3 million people that are just always helping and lending and fundraising. So it's really cool. Yes, the first part is solely their responsibility, although we help sometimes. And then we see the outpouring not only from our community, but all over the world, helping these business owners crowdfund their loans. And here, like I explained with the Walton Family Foundation, they do have a match fund with us and with Kiva. So as long as you're in, our county where we live, Washington or Benton County, you can get the Walton Family Foundation match. So for every $25 that someone lends, they immediately go in and lend 25. So our speed of fundraising is much, much faster.
That is really cool to have that benefit of that
Yeah.
uh, amazing, huge foundation backing that work at that micro level. That really pouring a little gas on that fire. That's very exciting.
Very needed too.
Um, so, as you think about this incredibly important work, what's the connection between Kiva and what you call the startup junkie business that you help run?
I would love to tell you about that. So, because I think a lot of our programs really do go hand in hand. So, Startup Junkie as a whole, as a big organization, was uh, first started in 2005, 2006. And it started doing consulting and services for entrepreneurship. So, we were established as a nonprofit maybe 10 years ago, and we do all kinds of programming. So yes, we still do one-on-one consulting with business owners in the area. All of this is at no cost to them. We have workshops, we have lunch and learns. We do approximately 200 events a year. There's only one that has like an entry fee, so everything else is comped via grants or via contracts with organizations like the Walton Family Foundation. So Startup Junkie, at its core, what we're looking for is always democratizing access to capital, to resources, to education for small businesses in the area and small business owners, because that is a very hard journey to walk on. So we don't want our business owners and our community to walk it alone. Kiva is just very complementary to what Startup Junkie does. So we do that microloan financing. So usually you won't, our business owners don't need $60,000. They need $5,000. So we're able to offer that to them with no interest and no fee. So it really is very helpful and very impactful. We're also aware that a lot of our customers or a lot of our clients are not able to just walk into a traditional bank and get a small business loan. So how can we better serve them, understanding what their barriers are?
Yeah, that is really cool. I mean, you think about the value of a small, a $5,000 loan to a small business. It's exciting to think about the difference that's making, and
It is.
converting people from, especially people who are immigrants or members of other underserved communities. It can be so empowering to bring them more fully into the economy. So I love what you're doing there. Um, One of the things that I read about you is that you also are an advocate for bringing awareness and sensitivity to Tourette's syndrome. Tell us a little bit about your work in that area. That's fascinating.
I would love to. Yes. So I was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome. My first symptoms, I was like 7 or 8. I was formally diagnosed after a couple misdiagnoses when I was around 12. So I was back in Costa Rica. It was still a very rare condition back then. It was, the early 2000 in a developing country. Most people didn't know what was wrong. So after I got a diagnosis, I really just kind of launched into this journey of what's the best way to educate people. And I think I see that a lot with not only, like Tourette's, just neurodiversity in general. Like, we're always wanting people to understand us and just know and be educated. But then we get mad when someone makes a comment or someone asks a question about it. So I've realized, if we want education to be widespread, we need to be the ones to talk about it. We need to be the ones to be open to a conversation, no matter how uncomfortable that is. So I've worked with the Tourette's Association of America, the headquarters in New York, and then I've worked with the Tourette's Association in Costa Rica, just finding the best ways to not only, bring awareness and disclosure, but how can we live fulfilling adult successful lives while also, I hate the word battling, but battling with a condition that makes things, that would be simple, much, much harder.
Yeah, I really appreciate your being open about this because I recognize that people, even oftentimes, trying to be sensitive and caring and loving, say dumb, stupid, mean
Oh yeah.
things, and it dealing with people is probably the hardest challenge of the condition. But I want to shift gears a little bit and explore another aspect of your experience.
Yeah.
You can help us understand better the experience of immigrants of all sorts. We've got here in the United States a lot of refugees, a lot of people who have come in through sort of non traditional means.
Mhm.
And then, of course, lots of folks that come in fully authorized, welcomed. And so we've got the whole,
Spectrum. Yeah.
whole panoply
Hmm.
of experiences. And I don't want to put you on the spot about your experience, but I wonder if you would just take a minute and help us better understand the immigrant experience as one who has been part of that community and now serves that community fairly deliberately. Maybe you can help us empathize a little better as we think about the experiences that people are having there.
I'd love to. And that's one of the biggest things of why I love what I do. I feel like it really is helping me 10 years ago or 20, I did move to the US when I was 18. Most all my family lives in Costa Rica. They still live there. They never really, had dreams of immigrating to a different country or the US. But I knew I wanted to study abroad out of high school. So that was a long, hard process, but it was successful. It was actually the Walton International Scholarship Program. So I've been tied to the Waltons ever since. So I applied to a scholarship program. It is available for most of the Central American countries every year, and they bring about two people from each country to Arkansas to study. So the program's been going on for over 30 years. So clearly, the way I moved to the US was much different. So I was here for 4 years. Getting my undergraduate degree, and I met my husband in college. So we then had to navigate. I was able to extend my student visa for a year, and then we were faced with the question of either we get married and start a green card process, or I have to go home because I personally didn't want to stay illegally. But I've also in when I call myself an immigrant, a lot of people are like, "Well, are you an immigrant? Like, you got here?" I was like, "Yes. We are all immigrants, regardless of how we, came in, whether it was legal or illegal." And it's been I feel very privileged, but at the same time, I also see that privilege and understand that I'm the very, very minority in that area. And it's just there's just situations that I think we don't understand. Like a lot of people always thought, okay, well, you married someone that is an American citizen, so you're automatically a citizen. You had to do no processes. It's just so fast. It's so easy. Why doesn't everyone else do it? Personally, my citizenship process took over 5 years. It was extremely expensive. I think it was like $6,000 a year, $6,000 total, and that is we did it by ourselves. We didn't even have money to hire a lawyer. So there's a lot of things that I think just like it's lack of education. Like to do my green card process and then eventually my citizenship, I have to do a medical test to prove that I don't have any like diseases, even like STDs. Like it's very invasive, and I think that that's what's really missing, just like an education of how every pathway to citizenship can be so hard for the people here. Most people don't really manage English that well or have the money to hire a lawyer, so there's even just more room to get like scammed or give your money to someone that might not really help you in the long run. So there's a lot that I think just bottom line is there's not a lot of education of it, and that's why we all can benefit from a little empathy.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking a minute to share your experience with us because it is so important for us to better understand your experience as a proxy for a community, and also to help us see some of those other experiences. I appreciate that. Well, listen, everyone, we're here with Claudia Scott. She's with Kiva in Arkansas, and she's been sharing some of the great tools and resources that Kiva provides to people in their communities. And this is going on across the country, not everywhere, but in many, many places. Uh, I'm so grateful for what she's doing, what Kiva is doing. We're going to come back in a few minutes after a short break, and we'll come back and talk to Claudia about her superpower. So stick around. You don't want to miss this.
Join us at the 5th Annual Reggae and Crowdfunding Conference June 20th at the prestigious Westchester Country Club in Rye, New York. This year, we're expanding our focus to include crowdfunding deals, covering online deal marketing tactics. Visit reggaeconference.com to learn more. Save 20% with code SUPER20.
Want to learn from the world's great changemakers? Find your superpower. Subscribe to the Superpowers for Good newsletter at superpowersforgood.com. Make your strengths into superpowers that will change the world. Join the super crowd today. Superpowers4good.com.
Hope to raise money from the impact crowd. Good investors are as interested in community, social or environmental impact as you. Connect with Funding Hope, an SEC-registered FINRA member crowdfunding portal to learn how to raise capital from the impact crowd. Scan the QR code now.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm here today with Claudia Scott. She is with Kiva, an amazing human being, shared some of her great insights about the work that she does at Kiva. But we're going to shift gears now to talk to her about her superpower. So stick around. You don't want to miss this. Claudia, you really are an amazing human being. I just so admire you. I think about the initiative you showed, this personal drive to come to the United States from Costa Rica alone as a student. That's really inspiring. Of course, we're glad that you stayed and were able to make that work. Your work at Kiva is inspiring. And I love how you've leaned into find a career where you can support people who've experienced some of the challenges and others that you experienced. So I just love and admire what you're doing. What is your superpower?
I love that question. I do find that fascinating just because I think we all have some sort of superpower. And even when we don't realize it, or people that, don't realize how much they can do to change the world. I personally would say, usually what people can tell, well, she has Tourette's. It's something that you have to battle with, you have to deal with every day. And I would venture myself to say that that is my superpower. Being very different in many ways. I am a woman in an entrepreneurial space that's very male dominated. I am an immigrant and very proud of it. I have Tourette. So all of these like exclusionary or sometimes like minority uh boxes. I think it's what is my superpower. I'm able to just see life through such a different lens. When we have a client that comes through our doors that can't, may have a criminal conviction, but is trying to do like a new business, or may not have paperwork, they might not be an illegal immigrant. I really, having Tourette's and being already diverse and dealing with that in a different country where I didn't know anyone, really taught me how to empathize with other people. And just a simple concept like we don't know what others are dealing with, so just be kind. I feel like we always hear that, but it's very hard for us to internalize it. So I would say yes, my superpower might be just how different I am and how I can use that to help not just people around me, but just like change my community, change my surroundings, my family. So that's been very impactful for me.
I had never thought about the potential of that sort of being different, being isolated, becoming a superpower. And yet I can see how that would be true. The empathy you would develop and your ability, and of course, you have to lean into that. I don't think that it comes directly nonstop. There was a connection you made, said, I'm going to choose
Oh
to
yeah.
leverage my ability to see the challenges I've had to see others in a more personal, wholesome way. Um, can you think of a specific example of when you have kind of leaned into that to connect with another person or help someone or accomplish something?
Yeah, and it's just so interesting because we've taken some trips with our friends, and my ticks have been, very, I call them just acting up, and they've had to see me tell 80 different people in the span of 3 hours. No, I'm not coughing at you. I have Tourette's. No, I'm okay. I just have Tourette's. So when people see that, they're like, oh my God, is this what you do every day? I'm like, yes. But usually on those times where I'm getting frustrated or annoyed or just sad, I recall just last year we were in Seattle for a week and my texts were just really bad, and probably over 100 people all day came up and said like, "Are you okay? What's wrong with you?" Um, and towards maybe 4 o'clock, I looked at my husband and said, "I can't do this anymore. Like we were walking this museum and we're going home. Like I'm so sorry." And he was like, "That's totally fine." And this mom, I saw her kind of just like walking at us, and I was like, oh no, she's gonna say something too. And she comes up and she's like, hey, we're also traveling, I think they're from Scotland or Ireland, and they were like, she's like, my daughter has Tourette's, she's right here, she heard you tell that to 40 different people, and she's also having a bad day, and you've just like turned it around. She just like started telling other people that she also has Tourette's, and just like, we just want to know that that was impactful for us, even though we were just like adjacent to it. And it just kind of knocked some sense into me, because I was really frustrated and I just wanted to go home, and I was like really mad at people around me. I'm like, and it's like the third time this happens to me. When I'm about to just give up and be mean, something shows up out of nowhere to show me that I am kind and I am open about my traits for a reason, and so we can impact so many others so we don't even realize.
That is a beautiful story, and I feel terrible that you have to endure so many of us asking about what's wrong. I can only imagine how difficult that would be, and your story helps me appreciate how much more sensitive I need to be in life, and I appreciate you being a little bit vulnerable. Uh, I wonder, all of us are different, right? And we come from different places. And I think some of us um may have more difficulty than you have in terms of developing that empathy, which I think comes from your being different. You've made your difference your superpower. And I think what it enables is empathy and compassion. How would you encourage other people to see life through that lens so that we can be a little bit more compassionate, have a little more empathy? What would you coach us to do?
I think it's such a loaded question. I could tell you multiple things. Personally, I've always, and this is how I grew up. This is how my parents are. Even post diagnosis, they allow me to feel my feelings, but I also had to get up and do stuff like my peers and my classmates. And I realized very early on that humor is a great tool to just like bring things down. So there have been occasions or just like times I remember when my husband and I first moved into an apartment, our landlord called and was like, I thought I said no pets. You have a dog in there. And and I was on speaker and my husband said, oh no, that's just my wife. She has Tourette's. It's like, don't worry. I take her out for walks every day and she knows how to pee in the carpet. So everyone, when I bring that up, they're like, was that okay? I'm like, yes, it's hilarious, because I could have approached that one of two ways. I could have yelled at her. I could have gotten really mad. Or just like, it's funny. She didn't mean it. So I've just realized there's certain things that you have to take with humor, or you just won't. Just I don't know. I can't imagine my life if I couldn't laugh at my Tourette's or at my Latina-ness a little bit. And I think the second thing is always, even when it's not true, always pretend that people are coming from a good place. That's one of the things I've always noticed. From 100 people that ask me what's wrong with you, 5 or 10 of them meant it to be rude or ill-intended. The other 90 were probably just concerned and have no idea what they're talking about. So I think that has been very pivotal for me, just like parting from a point of everyone is kind, and let's believe that even if they're not kind.
That's great. Great point. Listen, as we wrap up, tell us how people can connect with you, learn more about Startup Junkie, learn more about Northwest Arkansas Kiva. Give us some deets here.
Yeah, absolutely. So Startup Junkie, you can find us online, startupjunkie.org, on social media, startup_junkie on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Startup Junkie. Same thing with Kiva. We're as Kiva Northwest Arkansas, Kiva NWA on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. And you can always get with me on social media personally, Claudia Scott.
Fantastic. Claudia, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. We love what you're doing. We're so grateful for your being vulnerable, sharing so many personal insights with us today. We want to wish you every success in the great work you're doing and making a difference for other people.
Thank you, Devin. I appreciate that.
All righty. Let's do some good.